Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Good for Bitcoin. My name is Brandon, social media manager at Trust Machines, joined by our community lead co-host, Kate. Happy Friday, Kate.
What's up, guys? Hey, Brandon. Happy Friday. How are we doing?
Doing good. We are live streaming to my personal account also. We're testing that out. So we are multiple live streams going on right now on X. So if you're listening on my account, welcome. Yeah, just gonna test that out, I guess. But
yeah, cool.
Yeah, another kind of quiet week. I feel like overall, some news to get into, but nothing too crazy.
We had Bitcoin DeFi trending on X this week, which I thought was pretty cool. I think it's like one of the first times I've ever seen that. I think this was maybe Wednesday night. And I mean, like, obviously Stacks is not the only Bitcoin DeFi kind of message out there. There's a lot of other people who are trying to build Bitcoin DeFi, but it was definitely a cool thing to see.
Yeah, what do you think? That's really cool. What do you think like triggered that? Was there like a specific event that happened on Wednesday, or?
I was like trying to look through it. I know like Coinbase is obviously doing a lot around like institutional fund stuff. I know that they launched like a USDC thing, but that has nothing really to do with like Bitcoin DeFi. I don't know. Like if you scroll through the X feed of Bitcoin DeFi, like there's kind of players from all across the board, which is kind of cool to see. Like I'm seeing Mezzo, cool. I'm seeing Babylon, I'm seeing Stacks, I'm seeing Bob. Like it's all kind of contributing, which is pretty cool.
That is nice. It's just a good reminder we're all on the same team.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty cool. Yeah, we didn't include it in the notes, but there was some pretty big Coinbase news. Also, they are launching like a lending product. Did you see that? Well, they've had lending, or they've had borrowing for a while, but now they have lending where you can lend, and I think there was like the rates were like above 10% or something like that, which is pretty good when you compare it to traditional savings accounts.
I would agree.
I know it's obviously a very different thing, like lending versus just like a savings account, but still, yeah, pretty cool. Well, I'm going to maybe put you on the spot. There was some leather announcements we talked about last week, and you've continued to tease out some more little things.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we have? We started off with being able to see single accounts in your wallet. So you can basically dive into the granular details on each account that you might have, all the transaction history, what you might hold in that account. And then we launch SIP10 sends. So this is any Stacks token that you hold in your wallet. You can now send it on mobile, which is huge because obviously you don't want to just hold, you want the ability to send it. Like that's a very important thing for Bitcoin wallet. So we launched that.
Shout out to all of our meme coin communities out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure they're very happy about that. And then we have token details. This one's pretty cool. Let me see if I can bring it up on the spot. Basically, if you're in the mobile wallet, you can tap on a token and just check out like the description of the token. There's like 24-hour price change, current price, and then you can see like all of your transaction history for that token. So it's just kind of nice, like if there's something in your wallet and you're kind of like, what is that again? Or you just want to know sort of more about like the price movement. You can check that out in mobile. I'm like really struggling to bring this up, but we have it pinned on our Leather BTC. There's a little things post and you can see all of these changes in there. So pretty cool stuff. Again, it's just like these little things that make your experience much more enjoyable, usable, and kind of just like a friend walking you through your whole experience.
Yeah, maybe I'm sharing too much because I don't know exactly when this is getting released, but I know the other day we were looking at some token descriptions for runes as well, and they were all like really solid, and it was just like making me think back to the time when like runes was launching and there was all these airdrops happening. It was such a fun time to be in the ecosystem, and some of them like I kind of forgot about because they never like materialized or whatever, but they were still like one of the first like runes out there to launch. that was the big thing. You know, everyone wanted to be like the first rune, and that's when the fees shot up to crazy high, like hundreds of sats per VByte fees. Yeah, I lost a lot of money minting during that time as well. But
it's like a rite of
passage. It was a fun time. Yeah, totally. It's all good.
Funny. But yeah, we should be releasing like a few more small things. Nothing major. Again, it's all like categorized under this little things category. But it's just if you're interacting in the Bitcoin ecosystem, you want a wallet that allows you to see the full picture. So that's what we're working on. But as those get released, we'll let you guys know. Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah. Lots of nice little quality of life kind of improvements.
Exactly.
And yeah, making way for the bigger launches like ordinals and runes and all that stuff soon.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. Let's get into some public company news. Quite a lot from Nakamoto. We're going to get into them. But first off, Strategy bought another 525 BTC this week. So, of course, they're buying more Bitcoin.
As they do.
And yeah, Nakamoto stock has just been getting wrecked. I'll have to check what the current price is right now while we're on here. But
yeah, tell us about it. This was some pretty crazy news.
Yeah. So, you know, Nakamoto, that's David Bailey's company, Bitcoin Treasury Company, merged with Kindly MD. And Kindly MD stock, before any of this Nakamoto stuff was happening, was in kind of like the $1, $1.25, $1.50 range. And then after Nakamoto, you know, got announced or whatever, the merger was announced. I think even back in May, the stock shot up to like $25. So it was like super high. Everyone was super excited. You know, Bitcoin Treasury companies, hooray! And then this past week, it dropped down to $1.25, which represented a 95% drop in price, which is pretty nuts. And I'm looking at it right now. It's $1.40. So still, you know, recovered by like 15 cents, I guess, but still pretty low. So why the huge drop? So there's a lot. David Bailey was kind of posting a lot, trying to, you know, combat some of the FUD. But basically what happened was the SEC had previously approved the registration of this basically there was all these shares that were tied up, that were locked, and, you know, early shareholders couldn't sell them. And that unlock happened, which basically allowed $200 million worth of private investment money to be liquid and freed up, and people could sell. So just huge sell pressure basically from like early holders. And David Bailey was tweeting about it, and he was basically saying that, you know, a lot of these people that are selling because they were Kindly MD holders and not really interested in the Bitcoin side and the Nakamoto side. So it's sort of like an exit from like old investors and an entrance for new investors. But it just sucks, you know, because the price was very high and it's gone down a lot. So a lot of Bitcoiners that maybe purchased, you know, the stock as it was going up have all gotten pretty wrecked since then. I never bought any Nakamoto stock, but I did buy some the other day.
That's so
now
funny.
That it's so low.
Yeah.
Just for disclosures, I guess. But there's also some fears, I guess, because we talked about this a few weeks ago. Nakamoto announced this other, it's called like a PIPE. It's like a private investment in public equity round is what it's called. And they announced a $5 billion PIPE for like something in the future. So that also, I think, has like led to fears and caused the stock to go down a lot because people are anticipating another, you know, potential sell off in the future. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, you're either going to be like looked at as a genius, or you're going to be like you're going to get wrecked too.
Yeah, I mean, it can't go down that much more.
I know.
Like
I'm just
95% drop. I know, like, there's always the term like "don't catch the falling knives," but I feel like the knife's already on the ground, and I'm just picking it up. So we'll see.
Now this will be interesting to see how it shakes out. And I mean, they like seem confident that, like, you know, they're kind of, I don't know if shaking off the dead weight is a good way to put it, but hey, if they turn around, then like they're laughing and we're all crying. Well, not crying, but
yeah. So some other kind of Nakamoto related news. So David Bailey, in kind of his defense of like the stock price, he also mentioned that once BTC Inc., which is the parent company of Bitcoin Magazine and the Bitcoin Conference and Bitcoin for Corporations, which we have some news on as well, I guess they're going through like an audit right now. And I guess Nakamoto can choose to exercise its option to acquire them in an all stock transaction once that happens. And UTXO Management, which is like also David Bailey's, like, I think like a VC kind of firm, is also on the table there as well. So, yeah, I mean, they'll, obviously like Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin magazine, those are revenue generating things. So they're going to need revenue to fuel these Bitcoin strategies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was super interesting. It kind of seems like David Bailey's, it's like this complex way of like making all these companies public, right? Where you do this like merger with this random medical company, and then you take it over almost, and then you bring in all your, private companies that you already owned into it through these like different, financial strategies, I guess. And yeah, it's just super, super interesting.
It is a little bit hard to follow.
Yeah.
How it all works out. And then they're getting looped in with strategy. Is that the case?
Yeah, strategy, strategy, and BTC Inc. They have also agreed to a 5-year strategic partnership for that Bitcoin for Corporations initiative.
Yes.
So that's going to go to 2030. So they're just doing some strategic partnership there. Also interesting because, technically, I guess like Nakamoto is kind of competing with strategy to be like a Bitcoin treasury company. So they're working together, I guess. But we also, like last week, right, we talked about how Nakamoto was investing in, what was it, Metaplanet? So I don't know. All these companies are just like investing in each other.
Yeah, I know. It's just one
big, a little weird
Mod Podge. And then we have a new one. Well, not really a new one, but I guess some movement on Pomp's institution. You can take it away.
I think movement's a good way to put it. So it's from ProCap Financial, which is Pomp's public Bitcoin treasury company. They've filed their first public S4. Jeff Park is their chief investment officer. They also shared some numbers. The 4,950 Bitcoin that they had previously purchased has accumulated, or now has more than $60 million in unrealized gains. So they were just highlighting the fact that they bought Bitcoin early before the merger has been able to go through. And because they bought it early rather than waiting for the merger to go through, they made $60 million in unrealized gains, which is certainly nice. There's this quote here, which is interesting. It says, BRR shareholders who hold their shares through the close of the business combination, the merger, will be eligible to receive additional shares of ProCap Financial if the price of Bitcoin at the close of the business combination exceeds the signing price as determined under the transaction documents. That's interesting. I don't know how that would work, where you just like get additional shares allocated to you somehow if you are an early holder of the stock, I guess. But I haven't seen anybody else say anything like that. So I thought that was interesting. Pomp also said that now that they have filed their S4 and it's public, he'll be able to discuss ProCap a little bit more frequently. So maybe we'll just continue to see a little bit more news there, because there's like this cohort of like these Bitcoin treasury companies that announced these mergers, but because they're public companies and the mergers haven't gone through yet, there's just all this red tape in what they can say.
Yeah.
So we're seeing like this lull in almost in, also like 21 would be another one, right? We haven't heard anything from 21 in a really long time. So that's still going through, I guess.
But then we have Treasury, another Treasury Bitcoin company. They bought 111 Bitcoin and they now hold 1,111. So that's the Bitcoin Treasury company are they based out of Netherlands?
I believe so, yeah.
I think so.
Shout out to Tycho.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's very cool. We have like some different Bitcoin Treasury playbooks on the table here, the ones that we've talked about. We have like obviously strategy. They're just kind of like the mammoth. They do the same thing over and over, just keep buying, and they're just going to keep doing that. And then we have like the roller coaster of Nakamoto. I mean, who knows how that will shake out, but it's a little bit more like high risk, high reward, a lot of complexity going on. And then you have Pomp, who's just, it seems like it's a little bit more cleaner, more geared towards like institutions. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm so interested to see how all this stuff plays out once like Bitcoin price starts to go down.
Yeah. That'll be like
the real. Very interesting.
The real telling tale for sure.
Yeah, I feel like we'll end up seeing like mergers and stuff happening between all these different players, and you can't like it doesn't make sense to have like 20 different public companies in the US that are like acquiring Bitcoin. Like we don't need that many. So yeah, I think it'll make sense in the future. But for now, Bitcoin's up, so they're
It'll be cool
enjoying.
mostly to just follow who keeps acquiring Bitcoin for their company, like not as a Bitcoin treasury company, but just acquiring Bitcoin to hold on the balance sheet. That's what will be really cool to see as the market drops as well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some of the news. First one, which is very exciting in our ecosystem, is the sBTC cap has been removed. We talked about that last week. We were anticipating it, but it officially happened. Yeah, you can now bridge in any amount above 0.001 BTC, which is like a little over $100. It used to be 0.01 BTC. It was like over 1,000. So much easier to bring Bitcoin in and out of the system. And I'm opening up the mempool.space address right now for the address that's holding all the sBTC, and it's kind of stayed relatively flat over the last week or so, which is, I think, a good thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely. It would be a bad sign if it all started flooding out.
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons for that. I mean, one, the rewards program is still going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, just for bridging in Bitcoin, you opt into this thing. You don't have to like give up your keys or like give up your custody or anything, and they can just be in your wallet, and you will earn 3% APY on it. So it's pretty nice.
It's pretty nice. You had a really great tweet that people really love, and you were kind of just explaining like the Bitcoin finality part of stacks, but then you talked a little bit about sBTC and like how the upgrades with Satoshi are going to really help solidify sBTC as like one of the dominant wrapped Bitcoin assets. I don't know if you want to like share a little bit more about that because it was your words, but I thought it was really well written.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been trying to, I feel like I had a little bit more time this week to like write some stuff that I've been like wanting to write for a while. Just happened to work out that way. So yeah, I feel like not enough people give Stacks credit for like that 100% Bitcoin finality that it has compared to pretty much any other like Bitcoin layer out there, maybe other than like even Lightning doesn't really settle back to Bitcoin. I mean, it does once you like exit, but like each Lightning transaction doesn't settle to Bitcoin, right? It's like an off-chain thing.
Yeah.
So it's a very unique property that Stacks has where in between each Bitcoin block, you have many Stacks blocks, but it doesn't just settle back to Bitcoin. It's almost like when a Bitcoin block happens, a Stacks miner is sort of planting a flag. It's like planting a transaction in a new Bitcoin block that has a hash in it. And from then on, until the next Bitcoin block happens, is mining all the Stacks blocks. And there can be like dozens, maybe even like hundreds of Stacks blocks in between each Bitcoin block, depending on how long it takes for a Bitcoin block to get processed. And then once a new Bitcoin block happens, a new miner potentially takes over and then, continues. But because of the way that those checkpoints work, it's sort of like a cryptographic hash that it would be impossible to, once a new Bitcoin block happens, to roll back the state of Stacks without rolling back the state of Bitcoin, which is like virtually impossible. So yeah, it's super interesting, unique property. And because Stacks has sBTC, there's a lot of wrapped Bitcoin solutions out there, right? But because sBTC is on Stacks, it inherits those properties as well, right? So you have Bitcoin finality of sBTC also, which is again very, very powerful property to have. We like Bitcoin finality.
And then I think like the coolest thing that obviously will hopefully happen with the Satoshi upgrades is like this unilateral exits where like you had kind of talked about this, but like, God forbid anything actually happened to the Stacks chain, you could still recuperate your Bitcoin from the L2 by using the L1 on Bitcoin, which is like, I mean, that's got to convince a lot of people if they were doubting before.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of content around that, especially like it's being built. So it's not like fully, out, but very interesting property, very important. Yeah. To have that, I think once you have that, I think like a lot of people argue like what is an L2, what is not an L2. I think like the most extreme argument is like you need like that unilateral exit property in order to be considered an L2. Like Lightning has this. You can recover, your Bitcoin that you've bridged into Lightning or like that you've set up channels with on Lightning using the L1. You don't have to like use the Lightning network in order to recover Bitcoin if you need to close channels and stuff. So
yeah.
Lightning is like a true L2, in most people's eyes, where if you have that lens, like Stacks doesn't fit that lens yet. I think that's just going to like check another box that stacks will be more secure and have that decentralization, and again inherit a lot more of those properties of Bitcoin while still being super fast, super cheap in between each Bitcoin block. So lots to look forward to.
Pretty cool.
The Bank of Canada and the US Fed both cut interest rates by 0.25% or 25 bips if you want to be fancy. I think I saw the Canada announcement like a day before the US announcement, so I wanted to put that in there. Shout out Canada for being early.
Amen.
But yeah, this was the first rate cut this year. I don't know, it didn't move Bitcoin price too much, I don't think, but
No.
I think it was today or maybe yesterday, like the S&P 500 was like at new all-time highs.
Yeah.
As it does.
Yep.
You know, markets are happy with it, I think.
I'm sure.
I think people wanted more also.
Yeah.
More than 25, but
what it sounds like. I don't know if they'll end up lowering it again. Not sure, but
I think the poly market on a 25 bip decrease was at like 90% or something
crazy.
Like that for September. Looking on here right now for October, it's an 86%, so probably going to happen again. I feel like we're just going to see like these 25 bip like decreases like for the next few months.
I would imagine. Yeah.
It's very similar to what they did last year. So we haven't actually had any rate cuts or rate changes since December of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been just like flat this whole time all year.
Yeah.
But back then in December, there was like a 3-month streak. So sounds like we're going to get something similar.
I'm sure there's been so much pressure from the White House on this one to lower those rates. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm going to throw this one to you. This is super interesting.
Yeah, I saw this one this morning and I thought, oh, wow. So there's been this like biometric crackdown on bank accounts in Vietnam. So Vietnam has reportedly started closing 86 million bank accounts that failed to pass this new facial biometric check system that they set up. So the government is claiming like it's about stopping fraud and AI-powered spoofing. You know, obviously, I kind of found this, I think, through Bitcoiners reporting on this, saying, like, this is the prime example of why self-custody matters, because people were sharing that, like, they were being forced to fly back to Vietnam just to keep their bank account open because they needed to provide the biometrics or whatever the documentation was. And if they didn't comply by a certain date, like, their bank accounts just got shut down. So, obviously...
What happened to the money? Like, did they just, like, take it?
That's a good question. I don't know if you can do that. I mean, like, well, I know
maybe like, not in the US, but who knows?
Yeah, like I know here, like if your bank account gets shut down, they just mail you a check, and then if you get that check, you can take it to another bank or whatever the case may be. But I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you just lose access to that money. That kind of seems like what's happening. But yeah, like there was 180 million that like passed this verification check, but like 86 million that are like on the verge of closing. So that's like a very large number. And so yeah, obviously it's just like a good reminder, you know, anyone who's banking with Bitcoin, obviously it's permissionless, borderless. You can't close it down. I put in here, like, the only thing you have to worry about is your own carelessness. You know, if you like, you lose your keys, then you also lose access to your money. But this was, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know what will end up happening in the end from like those 86 million bank accounts. I don't know what will happen with that money, but pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving on. So the SEC approved new generic listing standards. Basically, what that means is we might see some more crypto ETFs, non-Bitcoin crypto ETFs in the future. I guess it clears the way for spot crypto ETFs to launch under the 1933 Securities Act, as long as they have futures on Coinbase. So I don't know, they're like partnering with Coinbase in some way. That currently includes about 15 cryptocurrencies that qualify under that having futures on Coinbase. That includes Bitcoin. Of course, we don't need Bitcoin. We already have ETFs, but Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Dogecoin, Polkadot, Avalanche, Chainlink, Stellar, Solana, Hedera, Cardano, and XRP. So XRP ETF coming soon.
Always curious, yeah, like how big could this be? I'm wondering, like, how many people are buying that in their ETFs?
Some old, like, I haven't thought about like Stellar in a long time. Like XLM, I think is their ticker. That's an old one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see just more crypto ETFs. I was thinking about this the other day with like ETFs. It's really interesting how post, Bitcoin ETF, we now have all of these Bitcoin treasury companies when like you can buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting how that worked out. Like you would think that these Bitcoin treasury companies would have been very popular before the ETFs were live.
Yeah.
But I guess not. The price wasn't up, back then, I guess.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I saw this like video this morning. I just thought it was funny. Anytime you can bring Gary Gensler, his name on the show, I think it's funny. He was on CNBC and they were just asking him like, since you left, like the crypto industry's been booming and there's all this capital flowing in. Like, do you think you made the wrong call? And he was like, no, of course I didn't make the wrong call. And he basically just said like everything except for Bitcoin. And so obviously Bitcoiners are picking this up being like, Gary Gensler's a Bitcoin maxi. But it was just like a funny video. He's trying to like defend his position while he was at the SEC. And I just don't think it's landing very well.
Yeah, I think that was, I'll give him a little bit of credit. I think that was always the case with him with like Bitcoin. I think he always
separated the two.
Yeah, like it was almost like Bitcoin, everything except for Bitcoin is a security was like kind of his stance. So yeah, it makes sense. What's he doing now? Like
that's what I was like, go like take a vacation.
To teaching
I don't know.
Something.
He was like big into law enforcement, or like he was he had some kind of I don't know if it was like a law firm or something. I don't know. Maybe he's getting back into that. If I was him, I would just chill out.
Yeah, just leave.
Get off the TV.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a jump scare.
Him. Yeah, it's too funny. And then this other one, I just thought, like, I don't know, I think it's always cool to point things out, but Thailand is now offering 0% capital gains on Bitcoin and crypto. So, Thailand.
It's awesome. And great food. Can't go wrong.
Have you been? Or are you just like Thai food?
Thai food in general is is great.
I agree.
I've never been, but I would love to go.
I love me a pad Thai.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think that about wraps up the news. I did want to mention this is happening today. Shout out to Benaya, who's in the Stacks community. He's also one of the new stewards in the D Grants cohort that's happening. He's hosting a Stacks event later today in San Francisco, so I'm going to be going to that.
No way, that's awesome.
Hopefully, I'll see some more Stacks folks there. Yeah, I don't know who else is going. I'm sure there'll be some more folks. I don't want to like shout anybody out that maybe doesn't want to be doxxed.
That's fair.
I'm sure there's like a few people that I'm thinking of that hopefully will be there, but I'll be there. So
that's
if you're in
cool.
the area, go
have
check
fun.
It out. Yeah, maybe I'll try to take some photos and
definitely.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. I think that about wraps it up for the week. Anything else?
I don't think I have anything. No, there's nothing that like. No, it was like a good week in Bitcoin, I guess. It's pretty chill. There's some fun things that happened. Yep. But no, that's it for me.
Cool. Well, thanks y'all for tuning in. We will see you next week.
Alrighty.
And, have a good weekend.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.